A joke in our friend group got out of hand. Now my husband doesn't want to see me anymore. Have you ever been in a situation where a harmless joke within your friend group spiraled out of control? Well, that's what happened to me. Now my husband doesn't want to see me anymore. It all started with a silly prank that we thought would bring some laughter and fun. But as it happened, it crossed a line that we never intended to cross. Sometimes you just don't know the outcome of your actions. It's so sad that I chose to do a childish and careless act just to make my husband jealous. You know the phrase that says, "Let bygones be bygones." I should have used it. My husband, who was not part of the prank, felt deeply. The joke got out of hand and crossed a line that we never intended to cross. Some things are better left as they are because you never know how they'll turn out. It's so sad that I chose to do a childish and careless act just to make my husband jealous. You know the phrase, "Let bygones be bygones." I should have used it. My husband, who wasn't part of the prank, felt deeply. Despite my apologies and attempts to make things right, he's still hurt and betrayed by my involvement. He refuses to even talk to me. It's a painful reminder of how a thoughtless action can have serious consequences on our relationships. I never imagined that a simple joke could lead to such a rift between us. Now I'm left grappling with the aftermath and trying to repair the damage that has been done. I had no idea that one day I would find myself being one of my alpha husband's brutal revenge. When you're too carefree, you end up doing things that could ruin your life in the other party's life. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was just having fun, but I guess the fun had me instead. A small mistake took me back to the hellhole. I thought I'd left, but I regret the day I made that mistake. I thought my husband wasn't going to find out that we were playing a game. Just having fun with a couple of friends at a party. I didn't realize that what I thought was a game was actually cheating. The worst part was that I had to realize it the hard way. I was fooled by my friends and did things that I thought it was harmless and fun, but it ended up ruining my life. I know someone who went through something similar. How did you recover from this situation? My husband is very sensitive and doesn't like stupid jokes, but I went ahead with it anyway. I really thought we were just having fun, but he took the joke the wrong way and reacted badly. I really regret starting the prank because now I'm in a difficult situation and it's affected my relationship with John. I still don't know how to make him understand that I didn't mean to hurt his feelings and I want to fix things between us. I was married to John Johnson, male 33, female 33. We first met at the Cheesecake Factory in Dubai. I had gone there because I was craving cheesecake. The Cheesecake Factory is my favorite spot, but that day I didn't have a good experience. I asked to speak to the manager because the cake, it tasted like it was made 5 days ago as I was busy arguing with the employee. John came and offered to help me. I told John my complaint, and he took it seriously and told the employees to fix the issue. I don't know if I would say that it was my lucky day, but everything was just going smoothly. They even gave me a free cheesecake. John asked for my number so that he would make it up to me for the inconvenience caused. He offered to make it up to me for the inconvenience caused by taking my number. I told him I didn't have it, but the guy assisted, so I gave him my number. 3 days later, he gave me a call and asked for us to meet at some restaurant in Barra Heights. I wasn't sure if I should agree or reject the request, but I ended up agreeing anyway. So we met and we actually got on really well. We had a great connection and hit it off right away. He told me he was actually the owner of the Cheesecake Factory, which I found really impressive. He was very humble and made me feel like my issue with the employee was a priority. We started communicating more via social media, especially on WhatsApp. He was a great advisor. He was very smart, charming, and all that. I really liked the guy. Was it too early for me to be falling for him? I didn't know how I would confess my feelings for the guy. I decided to just go with the flow, even though it wasn't easy. I made sure to keep in touch with this person and sometimes went out with him, even though I had strong feelings for him. Our friendship grew stronger each day, but I kept my feelings to myself. At least we were friends, and we were spending more time together. I wasn't used to Dubai, so he would take me to different places to visit. We went to different ice cream shops that weekend when he came to my aunt's house and asked me to go with him. I didn't ask much, so I went with him only to find out that we were going to JRA Beach Residence, which was 35 minutes away from Barra Heights. We'd been friends for about 6 months until I couldn't hold myself any longer. So I told John how I felt. I was surprised that he seemed genuinely surprised by my confession. I have to admit that I was nervous when I told John that I loved him. We fell silent for a few moments, and I started to think that he might not accept my proposal. But I was wrong. He was actually processing what I had said. He'd told him, so he actually kissed me, and I just froze because I couldn't believe it. That's when our relationship started. I wasn't regretting ever confessing my love for John. He was a great partner to me. I couldn't ask for anyone better. We had our fair share of ups and downs, but we managed to get through everything. John was a great guy. Fearing and I weren't close, but we respected each other's beliefs and religions. We supported each other and decided we wanted to grow old together, through thick and thin. I love John with all my heart, and I still love him even now, which is surprising after the damage he caused in my life. After a year of getting to know each other, he decided he wanted to grow old with me. So he proposed in front of our families and friends. I was the luckiest woman alive. Everything was going great with John. He was there for me, and we got married just 3 months after he proposed. He made me an honest woman, but our marriage didn't last long. We had good and bad times, but we loved each other. The following year, he proposed again, and I said yes. I saw the love of my life in him, even though I was a bit insecure, but I loved him so much that I didn't see myself with anyone else. He was my rock, my joy, and my happiness. I fell hard for him every day, not knowing that my small mistakes would cost me everything, including my love. Was I being naive or forward? We got married after 6 months. We didn't want to rush things, so we took our time to plan our perfect wedding. I had moved out of my aunt's house after he proposed. We were living happily. Once you know, you don't want anything to get in the way. That's how I felt. He was everything I wanted and more. I didn't know that he would become my downfall one day. A year later, I felt pregnant. Our lives were great. I was so happy that I was going to be a mom. Not just a mom, but the fact that I was going to have a child with the person I loved so much. 9 months later, I gave birth to a very adorable baby girl. She looked just like my husband and me. I loved her so much. She was and still is the best gift God has given me. A year later, I asked my aunt to come over to my marital home with her husband because I had planned a surprise retirement and welcome back party for him since he was no longer going to be working overseas. When he came back, I wanted to appreciate him while he was still alive. He had done so much for me. He was the best uncle and father I had ever had. Both Uncle John and my aunt deserved to get their roses while they were still alive. While John was still alive, he started acting really strangely. He wasn't spending as much time with me, but he'd take our daughter with him, saying it was a bonding session between a father and daughter. That was a pretty weak excuse, though, because even at home, things weren't as fun as they used to be. It felt like we were forcing things, even though our conversations weren't as happy as they once were. I even thought he was cheating because one day I confronted him about his sudden behavior, and he looked at me like I thought maybe he'd grown horns or I was crazy, so I decided to check his gadgets. I found nothing, so I knew he was hiding something from me. But I couldn't think that whatever he was hiding was actually about me. One summer evening, I was preparing for my uncle's retirement, SLB welcome home party. I'd told John that I needed him to be there to help me that day. He'd promised me that he would be home early, but he didn't keep his promise. Why was I surprised? He'd been absent for a few days. He'd go to work very early in the morning and come back late when our daughter would have even gone to sleep. And when I asked him about it, he'd say he was caught up at work. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was off. I kept wondering why John was so distant and absent lately. I found out that he wasn't cheating, but he was too busy for his wife. Even our intimate moments were different. It was like he was doing it to satisfy himself, not us. I wanted to find out what was wrong, but I didn't know where to start. I thought I knew John, but his behavior showed me I didn't know him at all. So as the guests arrived for my uncle's party, my uncle and his wife came, but I noticed that my uncle was a bit off. He was trying to act happy, but I could tell he wasn't. I asked him to speak with me privately. I thought he might be sick, but that wasn't it. He'd recently opened a coffee shop with money he'd made when he was on his last day overseas, about a month earlier. John came back from work and gave me an invitation to his friend's wedding. He wanted me to be his plus one. I'd known their friends and their partners for a while, but we weren't close at that time because I was still new to John's life. I accepted the invitation and knew I had to find a stunning dress to match my husband. The big day came, and I looked really fabulous in my dress. I was introduced to some groups I hadn't met, and I have to say, they had a great vibe. As time went on, John decided to celebrate his birthday by hosting a lunch for his friends. I didn't have a problem with that. I knew it would give me a chance to get to know his other friends and their partners, so I was looking forward to it. John had been a sweetheart at that time. He was going to be less busy, going to meetings with his business associates in a hotel. I had wanted to spend time with John on his birthday, but the lunch idea was not a bad one. His birthday came, the friends came, and we were having so much fun that we stayed together until very late. We enjoyed everyone's company. The girls came up with the idea of pranking our partners or playing the dare game, whereby you have to share your deepest secret or tell us what is happening in your life and how intimate your moments are with your partner. John's birthday came around, and I thought it would be a great idea to have a get-together with his friends. We had a blast. We stayed up late chatting and catching up. The girls came up with some fun ideas, like playing the dare game, where you have to share your deepest secret or tell us about your intimate moments with your partner. I wasn't sure about those ideas, but they sounded fun, so I agreed to participate, not knowing that it would actually put me in a tricky situation. Even though we didn't play it during John's birthday, 2 weeks later, a married couple who are John's friends invited us to their 10th anniversary. I was really happy for them. I had wished that I would also get to 10 years of marriage with John, but I didn't know that it would actually. By the end of the 3rd year of marriage, we accepted the invitation and made sure to dress the part and match the theme. Frank Mel 36 and Christina 34. The married couple were what we call a match made in heaven. Their love was so precious and pure. I just loved how they loved each other and did everything together. It all began innocently enough, as these things often do. Our friend group had always been known for our playful banter and light-hearted pranks. We were known for our pranks, but I didn't realize that one joke would have such a big impact. It was a typical Friday evening, and we were at our usual spot, Frank's backyard, drinking beer and chatting as usual. Someone brought up superstitions, and that's when things started to get out of control. In a moment of madness, I suggested we stage a fake breakup between me and JN just to mess with everyone. I thought it would be funny, but it caught on, and before I knew it, we were all planning how to make it seem real. I blurted out a ridiculous idea. What if we staged a fake breakup between me and JN just to mess with everyone? I thought it would be nothing more than a fleeting moment of amusement. But the idea caught fire among our group. We were all huddled together brainstorming ways to make the fake breakup seem authentic. We planned every detail meticulously, from dramatic social media posts to tearful phone calls to friends after the whole thing. Christina reminded us of the games we'd planned to play when we were at my house during John's birthday. The first dare came to me, and I was dared to tell JN a serious joke. I knew that was a tough one, but I had to play it. In my mind, I thought, it's just a game. I was just telling myself that it's just a game and nothing was going to happen, so I should participate. I blurted out that I was no longer enjoying our intimate moments because he is always tired and sometimes busy, so I was thinking of seeking intimacy outside our marriage. The following week, we put our plan into action. I pretended to be distraught posting cryptic messages on social media. I saw a lot of articles about heartbreak and betrayal. John was great at offering comfort to our friends and family who didn't know about the game. It was fun, but I didn't realize that playing it was like playing with my marriage. It didn't end well, and I regret accepting the challenge at first. It was all in good fun, though. Our friends fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker was all about simple empathy and support. But as the days passed, I started to see what we'd done in a different light. JN grew distant. His once warm and affectionate demeanor was replaced by a cold detachment. He avoided me, barely speaking more than a few words at a time. I tried to brush it off as part of the act, but deep down, I knew something had changed between us. Finally, one evening, John sat me down for a serious chat. He was really hurt and disappointed. He said he couldn't get over the feeling of betrayal. He couldn't understand how I could joke about something as important as our relationship. I didn't understand why he was so upset. After all, the instructions for the game were pretty clear. It was just a game, so we were just joking. He took it to heart. We had a pretty intense argument about what I said at Christina's house. It even affected our daughter, because kids pick up on tensions. My daughter also sensed the tension, and it wasn't nice. John was really at me, even if I tried to apologize. He wasn't interested in what I was saying. He only cared about his daughter, and that was hurting deeply. I even decided to be a stay-at-home mom, just because I was respecting him since he wanted me to be a housewife. But we had spoken about that, and we came to an agreement that I would do only remote jobs. He did this evil thing to me, and I don't know what I did wrong to him. I was just trying to be a good mom. I was the stay-at-home mom because John wanted me to be a housewife, but we'd agreed that I'd only do remote jobs. So it was really hurtful when he did this to me. What did I do wrong? I was so upset and disappointed that I wasn't a fully present mother to our daughter. John was like my housemate because we were no longer sleeping in one bedroom. The days turned to weeks, which turned to months. One day, John came back from work very early and he didn't look well. I asked him what was going on, but he didn't tell me. Instead, he looked at me like I was the most disgusting thing he'd ever seen. I got really confused because I thought we'd forgiven each other for the game that happened at Christina's house. I didn't know. I was really confused because I had thought that we had forgiven each other for the game that happened at Christina's house. I asked him again, getting worried because he was not even happy to see our daughter. I was wondering what may be the problem. Instead of answering, he just threw his phone at me. Then he started shouting, which is what I did despite him. He shouts like he is reprimanding a child, and that usually takes us to an argument. I looked at the phone that he had. He threw it at me, and I was really taken aback. I couldn't even argue with him or deny it because the picture in the video was right there in front of me. I didn't know what to say. I tried apologizing to him, but he wasn't having it. He wanted me gone. He told me straight in my face that he doesn't want to see me anymore. He said I'd made him a fool for far too long. I spent the whole week in the hospital because of it. My mind was in a bad place. I'd been getting sick every now and then I found out I'd lost my unborn child. I didn't even know I was pregnant. My mind and heart were in a state. A day before I was discharged from the hospital, my husband's lawyer came to see him. He left another envelope, which I didn't even bother opening, but I took it home with me the next day. When I'd settled well at home, I remembered the envelope and opened it. The contents of the envelope left me speechless. Inside, there were pictures of me and my male friend kissing. It looked like we were dating. I couldn't believe how my husband had got the pictures. I didn't understand why he would send his lawyer to deliver them to me. In my world, kissing wasn't and shouldn't be considered cheating. There were no feelings involved. It was just fun. So after the pictures were delivered, the lawyer called me again. He said the divorce process had to come to a final decision and that he wanted to see me and my husband on a certain date. I went to meet up with him and my husband. I agreed to the meeting because I had a lot of questions for my husband. The day of the meeting came, and my husband was really divorcing me. He said he'd lost trust in me and that I hadn't been faithful to our marriage. I'd found solace in another man's arms and left him in our house to take care of our daughter. I thought he understood that I was going through a lot of grief at the time and wasn't really myself. I tried defending myself in the picture case, and the lawyer told me that exchanging saliva or kissing another person outside my marriage is considered cheating, even if I had thought it was an innocent friendship kiss. The fact that I had spent time and kissed another person in the name of friendship is cheating. I tried to convince him to forgive me. I was so upset and emotional, but he wasn't willing to listen. I didn't realize that what I did was considered cheating because I thought I was just friends with the guy. I didn't view him as anything more than a friend. I love my husband, but I guess I never fully respected my wedding vows. Vows and my husband, I didn't know. One moment I was happy, the next I was devastated by an argument about a joke and found comfort in alcohol. That alcohol led me to do something I thought I was just doing for fun. Nothing stays in the dark, you know? I felt so ashamed. Sometimes doing things in the name of fun can lead to things you regret. It can lead us to our downfall. So I ended up signing the papers, which meant I was actually letting go of my husband, our love, our vows, and our family. I asked the lawyer what I was benefiting from the divorce, and he told me that I would be getting nothing rather than the house I was living in. So I asked my husband to unfreeze my accounts. And he told me I asked him about my accounts, and he said they were fine. It was just that they didn't have any money. I knew he was crazy, but I had never thought it was that bad. How could he do something so evil to the mother of his child? I had thought that was all he wanted. Then he dropped a very large and unexpected bombshell. He was taking full custody of our daughter. He said I wasn't fit to be a mother and took full responsibility for our daughter. A few weeks later, he filed for full custody, saying I wasn't fit to be a mother. On top of that, he blocked all my bank cards. I didn't know about that until I tried swapping the card at the petrol station, so I called my advisor. I was actually told that my cards were blocked when I got home. I found out that he had taken my clothes and thrown them outside. The doors were locked and he'd changed the locks, so I no longer had access to the house. Mind you, that time I didn't have gas in my car, so I didn't know how I was going to get home from Dark Hill. My husband was a bad guy. I should have paid more attention to the signs, but I was so in love and thought I'd found my soulmate. In reality, I'd found my worst nightmare and downfall. I couldn't believe he'd done all that just because of a lousy kiss. I wasn't dating the guy, but he destroyed my life, all in the name of revenge for a kiss. A few months later, I had to try and fix my life bit by bit. John did a number on me, so it wasn't easy having to start again. Fortunately, I found a job as a waitress in one of the restaurants nearby. It was not easy, but I had to try and pick up the pieces and better myself. I had no one but myself. I decided it was time to focus on myself and do what was best for me. Fortunately, John's parents had allowed me to see my daughter and spend time with her. I prayed every day for karma to visit John. One day it did. All of his operations came out, and he was arrested. I vowed to myself to never fall in love again or have a crush on anyone. I've learned my lesson. Do you think I handled the situation better, or was I naive to let John destroy my life like that? Please advise. Tears welled up in my eyes as I realized the extent of the damage our stupid joke had caused. I begged for forgiveness, but John's heart was broken, and he couldn't. I just couldn't bring myself to trust him again. Our friend group's harmless prank had cost me the love of my life. I'm sitting alone now, surrounded by the echoes of laughter that once filled our home. I can't help but wonder if the joke was really worth it. When a person says they were drowning in deep, muddy waters, I was that person. I was in a bad way and I couldn't cope. I tried to find some kind of resolution and a way to numb the pain with alcohol. I ended up becoming like my mother was when my father left her. I saw why my mother turned to alcohol. My life was in ruins. I'd lost the one person who'd always been there for me and who'd given me so much love and support. I had lost my daughter, and with her something I held dear, my company. I was really depressed and wished to just go far away, where there were no troubles and sorrows. 6 months later, my mother told me to stop having a pity party because it would not bring back the things that I had lost, including my daughter. But instead, it would lead me straight to the morgue. When that happens, I won't be able to fight or see my daughter again. Those words made me think about life again, so I used the money I'd saved from my company and the money I'd received from my divorce to fix myself. I went to rehab. I spent 6 months at a rehab center while attending AA meetings. When I left, I was a completely different person. I had discovered my worth and what I wanted. I started by asking for joint custody of my daughter, which I was lucky enough to get. I then went through a very tough depression phase for almost a year. I thought I was going to lose my life in the process. Everything was too much for me to handle. But I was proud of one thing: saving myself from the greedy and selfish person I was. I was glad my mother came through for me when John threw out my clothes. My mother found me a therapist. That therapist made house calls, which I was grateful for because I didn't want to face the world. I was scared that John would see me or mess with my car. This time, it showed that he was just obsessed with destroying my life. I couldn't leave my daughter alone. The therapy sessions went on for months because sometimes I didn't want to open up, but I eventually got help and decided to stand up for myself. John was sentenced to 25 years in prison for scamming a businessman in Chicago, and other charges came up when the police continued with the investigation. I was so relieved that he was finally away from me and my family. I swore I'd never again think I know better. I promised myself I'd listen to my mother whenever she gave me a warning after JN got sentenced. I was finally free. I was myself again and decided to take my acting career seriously while I kept working as a waitress on the side. After that, I never went back to my matrimonial home. I kept staying with my mom, and our lives were so much better. I realized that I didn't know what peace and happiness were when I was with John because I was blinded by the love I had for him. But now I can say I'm free and at peace. I'm the person who made rules for myself and never allowed anyone or anything to change. I used to live my life for me without looking for validation from others. But when I fell in love with John, all of that changed. I lost myself. I became his puppet, his submissive wife. I followed his rules and did everything the way he wanted to. It was all because of love and my commitment to the relationship, even though it was very toxic. It was a very toxic relationship, but I stayed and held on to the hot steel even when it had started to burn my skin. It's not easy being in a relationship where you have to compromise yourself just because you want to make your partner happy. That's not how it should work. I know that some would be surprised if I were to say that I still love my ex. My husband and I miss him so much every day. My heart wanted me to fight for our relationship and find a common solution to the problem. But why try to help a person who doesn't need help? It was like he was possessed by a controlling demon. When he was in control, he wanted to be in control. John was like a person who had multiple personality disorder. I can't and couldn't confirm it, but the way he was doing things was manipulative and controlling. It felt like he was pushed by something or someone to do it, to satisfy it. One thing I regret about myself was that I didn't give myself enough time to learn more about John. It didn't take us too long to get married, from being friends to being boyfriend and girlfriend to being husband and wife. Everything happened too fast, and I was blindly in love, so I didn't notice anything on our dating stage. Please tell me if the decisions I made were the right ones. I made some good decisions, I think. I still have feelings for him, but I hate him with a passion too. My daughter sometimes wants to visit him in jail, but I don't allow it because I don't want anything to do with JN. What should I do? I'm lost and I don't know what to do. I want to hear from you, Redditors. What should I have done? I had hopes that he would eventually change and become the man I had fallen in love with. I thought he would eventually realize that he was the grave. I was the one with the problem, and I tried to help by supporting him as his wife. I spoke to him a lot about his behavior and asked him to at least talk to a therapist so he could get help. Instead, he just dismissed my opinion like it was nothing. From my perspective, I don't know what I was doing. I would say it was being ungrateful and not being able to be patient with my husband. I wish things were done differently. Yes, it's too late, but I regret every stupid decision I made. Now I've lost everything, and there is really no one to blame but myself. I don't know how I can fix all of this and get forgiveness for myself. It's clear that I did everything willingly, even though I can't remember everything that happened. Only God knows the truth. I didn't realize that just one joke would actually land me where I am now. Am I being foolish or naive if I say I miss John so much and our daughter misses him too? I've been thinking of visiting him in prison, but I don't know what I would say to him when I want him to be punished for being fake and scamming me and other people, but I still long for him. I can't even talk to my mother about this because I know she'll freak out when she hears about my heart's desire. Please help me find a way to approach both families about this issue. What should I say? Please help me.